why we need additional services or solutions for it for e-commerce?
Okay, so we serve brands, retailers, right? So the problem is all of them are selling on e-commerce marketplaces. The brand ones like TikTok, like Lazada, like Shopee, all the marketplace provides the tools that are the same for every brand. So every brand are looking for a competitive edge against each other, right? So they need to find something that would give them a competitive edge that makes them better than other clients. So that's why they're always looking for something unique, right? That is not already available inside the place they're currently operating. E-commerce market insights is something that we provide to clients because if you operate with us, we're an e-commerce enabler, right? You would understand how your business is doing, but that is only half of what you need to know because you won't know how you stand against all your competitors, right? So you just know that your business is doing good, but you have no idea how you compare against your competitor. And that's what e-commerce market insights is for. We bring in all the data from the market sites big enough to represent the e-commerce market share inside Southeast Asia. Okay, so right now we see a steady growth, right, inside Philippines and Indonesia, while emerging, that is really quickly growing, is Vietnam and Malaysia. So we see with our clients when we operate that we have like a year-on-year growth of approximately 19%. Right? And we don't see that going away because we have observed that for multiple years, right? At the same time, we can see that Shopee, I think they reached like 25.1 billion. So I don't actually remember give me one moment, let me think about that, right? So we just see that they have reached like 25.1 billion, I would think so, right? And we see that Lazada is reaching, they have reached EBITDA positive last July, right? So we see all the marketplaces are growing, and at the same time, we see the sales of our clients among these 6 regions growing as well, right? None of them are actually going down. It's either steady or growing.
We know that e-commerce plays important role in Thailand's digital economy right now. And how's about other, how could I say, local e-commerce platform? Do we really need Thai platform?
Actually, this is the trend that we see that was very interesting that just emerged. So we see that a lot of the local retailers, right, are actually creating their own marketplaces.
Interesting.
Right? And I think one of the reasons is because all the marketplaces that we are currently operating on, such as Lazada and Shopee, the commission rates are quite high now. And so therefore, I see that, in order for the retailers, right, to be able to maintain their profitability, they're moving on to creating their own marketplaces, which would give the end consumers more channels, right? Another thing that we see that is really growing so quickly is live commerce and affiliates. So those things that we see a growth of approximately, like in 2022, video commerce was like 5% of our, we see the revenue share.
And right? It's growing.
Now it's 20. And in live commerce and affiliates, we see a year-on-year of 800%.
Wow. 8 times.
Because you see, live commerce was just new. So therefore, the baseline for live commerce used to be 0. So when it grows, you can see the number is really big, right? But it was growing so fast. So everybody is doing like affiliates. And I think the reason is because for like the brands, they don't need to create their own contents, right? You use KOL, you use influencers. So you don't have to spend money on the production, right? And you're simply paying for like the affiliates commissions, which is lesser than producing the contents and renting the studios ourselves and things of the sort. So we see a lot of growth in that area. So we can see that like YouTube partnered with Shopify in order to do affiliates. At the same time, TikTok is trying to make it very easy to sell on affiliates. So we can see the trends going that way, right? And at the same time, we are operating those things as well, and we also see the growth among the clients that are on those as well.
And how could you use data and analytics, even analytical tools, all of them, to create value-added part for the sellers and the platforms?
So right now, like e-commerce market insights, right? What it does is, for instance, it allows you to understand the market share. Like for instance, you have a new product. You want to put it into the market, but you don't know how the market is going to respond. Or you want to know white space. Like for instance, you have your own brand of facial foam.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, it's organic facial foam. I want to sell organic facial foam, right? So you would actually go into e-commerce market insights and see how well is organic products doing in 2024. Now you can see the trend and you're like, okay, how are they growing in each category? How big is that category? And who are my competitors in that category? Should I list it in this category or should I list it in a different one? And what is the average price, right, of all the brands that are selling? Who are the gray sellers? Are the gray sellers selling it cheaper than the brands, official brands? How should I position my product? That's what e-commerce market insights provides to our brands, right? And so the brands will now have that knowledge in order for them to be able to make those key decisions of where and how they will position their products. We are a data product. E-commerce market insights is a data product. So our specialty is actually acquiring data, cleaning data, structuring data, right? We do all kinds of analysis with the data, right? So we work with data a lot. And aCommerce creates the tool, we use it. If we actually have to create the tools ourselves, then we won't be able to focus on our core business, right? And that's why we choose a service that complements ours. Instead of recreating and reinventing everything, we would rather focus on our core business, which is data.
Cloud computing and data center, AI, how would things like this change Thailand's business landscape?
I think a lot of people think that AI is going to replace human, right? The truth is for us right now, as we can see it, we don't actually see that happening soon. It complements the human. It makes your life easier. It helps you do things faster, but not entirely removing you out of the picture. Like for instance, right, AI depends a lot on the data. And the hardest part of my job is making the data work with the tool. No matter how good your tool is, if your data is not clean, the tool will do wrong things. So you don't want to connect the tool directly to a decision. You still have humans there, right, to make sure that these are the things that the tool generated. Does it make sense from your experience? So you have to add in your experience to it and say, okay, in this particular case, I think my experience tells me that it should be this. How far away is this AI decision from mine, right? And we kind of merge it together and it becomes something that is more sustainable.
You're right. One important question I got to ask you, why Thai corporates fail to manage their own data efficiently?
I think one of the biggest part of making this work is how we structure data and how we govern the way that we actually implement things. So we specialize in actually cleaning, structuring, right, designing the whole data infrastructure so that when we put any tools on it, it would work, right? But it requires, there's no shortcut to cleaning data. It's basically a lot of work, okay, to basically look into the data, detect anomalies, removing things that doesn't make sense, removing all the junk, right, and looking at like, is there anything that looks bad? So we have a whole pipeline that manages things like that, right, to ensure that our data is clean enough to be used by the AI. I think a lot of companies think that, hey, there's AI, so we don't have to do anything. Throw everything at it, and it would give you a good decision. That will never happen. You need to make sure your data is good and it's sufficient to do what you want it to do. Like for instance, you want to forecast sales, but you have no seasonal calendar to tell it that this month have a double digit, the payday is on the 26th instead of the 15th, you know, things of this sort. You have to tell the engine that for the engine to be able to predict. But a lot of people think that because there's AI, I don't have to do anything. I just throw everything into it and somehow it would work. There's no magic in it. You need to make sure that the engine has sufficient clean data to use before you can actually rely on the things that is being produced by it. It's basically your responsibility to make sure that happens. It's not an AI responsibility.
What is the most, how could I say, serious things for Thai labor or even Thai government to do right now when you compare your business in another country?
What I find right now is a lot of companies desire people that do data. And data is a
Sure.
new thing, right? So now you see universities basically go, oh, we're training data scientists. Oh, we're training data engineers. We have special courses that trains people on data. And now we have special courses training people on AI. And then later on even goes down into a particular model of LLM. You know, everybody basically have all these trainings for people to get up to speed with the data. So I feel like we are ramping up a lot on the data, right? So there will be a lot of skill sets of people who already know how to, but then when we come into a company, everything is on paper. So their knowledge can't be applied to paper. So the first thing that happens when they come into a company is, guys, you're specialized on AI, and here is our data. Go make it work, right? And the people who basically just graduated gets really confused, right? That goes, I was trained with good data. Now, my job is actually to make sure that all of this gets into the data platform, have a proper pipeline to be used to do predictions, forecasts, right, automation, right? And they get overwhelmed by that because what they were trained on was how to work with good data. I have a lot of people from the university coming to us and go, we want our kids to intern with you because you have the data and the real thing that they can work with. Because your university don't have that data for them to work with. They want to know how real data looks like, and so they can prepare the kids and the students to be able to know how to clean it and the process that is required. But the university will not have that kind of data for them or that environment for them. And that's why right now we take a lot of interns, right? Because we want them to know that, you know, if you want to work with data, the first thing is data janitor. You clean it first, right? And these are all the kind of things that you can find with data. And you can find so many things wrong with data, right? That they can actually then go back and think about that goes, once I graduate and I go work for a company, these are the fundamental basics that I have to do from an engineering, from an architectural design perspective to make sure that this pipeline that I create for this particular company that I work for is going to be sustainable. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Okay, so let's say your company doesn't have data scientists, right? You don't actually have people with that skills, and it's going to be very hard or very expensive to hire people with those kind of skills, right? Then we basically say, do we really need to do that? To be honest, you don't have to build everything. You can just buy. There you go. There's AWS. There are people who are better than us, who could do it better than us, and we will never do it better than such a big company, right? Microsoft is working on it, right? There is Google. There is AWS. Everybody has the same type of products, and they're working on it, and they have specialties in it. What I think we have to do is use it in the way that, just use it responsibly, right? You don't have to build everything. A lot of people go, why build when you can beg, borrow, and steal? So I got it from being a panelist, okay, on a different, event. So I'm just quoting him, right? That is the question he asked me. And it's very true. It's a sentiment I totally understand. Why do we need such specific skills when we can actually find people and companies that can do it so much better? And if the commercials, which is the most important thing, choosing a partner that to work with that has the commercials that complements yours. Like for instance, let me give you an example. I think this might be easier to understand is like, so let's say I go with vendor B. Vendor B would give me discount if I'm locked in for 12 months, right? But then the problem is development is already 8 months. So I'm already paying for more than half of the year on developing, right? And what if I don't lock myself in? Then what if my sales grow really fast? Then I don't get the discount and I have to like double my price, right? Or what if I finish developing, but then I can't sell, right? It's a product that didn't sell. I'm still paying that hefty price, right? So I choose a service with AWS only because it's not only because there's multiple reasons, but this is one of the big reasons is their commercial complements us. It allows me to grow in peace. Grow in peace means if my sales is slow, I don't have to pay the hefty burden. I only pay as I go, right? And if my sales grow really fast, I don't even have to pay exponential because the way that we do billing and accounting with our clients is not far away from how Amazon is doing with us, right? So those things for me, I think, yes, there are some things that you have to build your own intellectual property because it's your core business. And there are some things you don't have to build. You just have to choose the right one. Right?
There's no need to do everything ourselves.
Exactly, because you can't be the best in everything, but you can be the best in what your core business is.